Today we're relaxing by the lake with Nichole, a QHS member whose life journey is as refreshing and inspiring as a day spent by the water. But what currents guided her to where she is today? Let's take a peaceful stroll through her story and see what's been happening behind the scenes.
Greetings, fellow travelers. My name is Nichole, and this is my Prequel. I was born in 1973 in a small town in Wyoming. I grew up on a ranch that my great-grandparents originally homesteaded in 1906. That was on my mother's side. My grandfather was a rancher, a coach, and a teacher, and very prolific in his field. He was a semi-pro athlete. He had championship teams. He was an amazing teacher, an amazing role model, one of the biggest role models of my life. My parents, my father's side, he came from a third generation of newspaper editors and publishers, and he was an editor and publisher, journalist, award-winning journalist himself. My parents owned the local newspaper in the small town where I grew up in Wyoming from 1970 to 1985. So the first 12 years of my life, I knew nothing but hard work, and it was an amazing experience. When I was 5 years old, my father bought a boat, a motorboat, powerboat, 20-foot ski boat. We spent every weekend skiing, water skiing, camping, boating, enjoying the outdoors, enjoying family time. I grew up loving sports and loving the outdoors. I have an identical twin sister and a younger brother. My brother is 2 years younger than me. He's actually transitioned now to the other side, but my sister and I grew up very athletic, very competitive, and we ended up both earning scholarships to play basketball at the University of Wyoming. It was an amazing experience, and when I was 22 years old, I was involved in an auto accident that forever changed my life. I went from being a prolific athlete to being rendered a quadriplegic. The doctors initially gave me a very bleak prognosis, giving me a 50% chance of surviving the first night. And if I did, there's pretty much 0% chance that I've ever had movement or below my shoulders or ever be able to walk again. But I chose to refuse. I actually refused to listen to the doctors. I refused to accept the diagnosis. I knew that I could get back on my feet again. So with a lot of faith, determination, and hard work, I did get the use of my arms and legs, though impaired, and I did get back on my feet. For quite a few years, I was able to walk with 2 canes, but I use a wheelchair full-time now. As it's been 30 years, so as time has gone on, things get harder as we get older. I work full-time, and I work part-time now, but I worked full-time for 20 years, and life went on. In 2007, I actually ended up getting back into sports. I got into kayaking, hand cycling, wheelchair rugby, adaptive alpine skiing, and then in 2010, I found my passion in racing and sailboats. So I actually currently live in South Florida. I moved out here in 2012. The sailing brought me out here, and I loved the weather out here. The Wyoming winters were getting a little harsh, managing and traversing in a wheelchair. So, what brought me to QHS? Well, my injury, actually. My attitude and my outlook on life have always been my greatest assets. I believe everything is possible. Our thoughts create our reality, and I'm a firm believer that we're all just spiritual beings traveling through the universe, and we're having this temporary human experience. Our challenges aren't obstacles, but just opportunities for growth. So the things I've learned in the last 30 years, I've probably learned 5 lifetimes worth of lessons that I would have never learned otherwise without having to go through the so-called hardships or obstacles, which were just opportunities for growth and self-expansion. I would have never had that opportunity otherwise. And the people I've met, the experiences I've had have been life rewarding and life changing. I actually wouldn't trade my accident for anything. But that doesn't bear to say. What I would give to be able to walk, run, and jump again. The first thing I want to do after I'm healed and restored back to perfect health is run a half marathon. I've always wanted to do that. So that will be my first thing to do. But my passion is to help others to see what is possible. I would love, after my QArc experience, I would love to do nothing but be an ambassador, traveling the world, showing people what is possible through frequencies.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.